Well, happening today, we all stop and mark 35 years since the deadly terror attacks on a Marine barracks in Beirut, Lebanon, at the airport there. 241 Marines, soldiers and sailors were killed in that attack that happened literally to the minute at 6:22 in the morning, October 23rd, 1983.
Joining us now, someone who survived the attack. I call him Dad. You call him Colonel Burdine. Colonel Miles Burdine. He's in Kingsport, Tennessee, and he is remembering this day with a lot of emotions, I'm sure. Dad, tell us what happened that day.
Well, good morning, Nikki and Neil. It was, as you said, 6:22 in the morning, 23rd of October, 1983. Sunday morning in Lebanon, Saturday night here in America. A bomber who was later traced back to one of our enemies, who had attended his own funeral a couple of days before the attack, drove a flatbed truck with gas cylinders enhanced by plastic explosives, drove the truck in circles, gathered up speed, crashed through the Marine gate, drove inside the barracks, detonated the bomb, killed 241 Marines. Many of them were impaled, some of them burnt, some of them crushed, some of them never found.
Even today, Colonel, the video is tough to look at, and I know it's had a tremendous impact on your family. I know it impacts Nikki to this day. Do you talk to any of the Marine families that lost loved ones that day still? Do you keep in touch?
I sure do. In fact, I'll have contact with many of them today. One of them in particular, Lance Corporal Terry Velour, which I'll tell his story in just a minute. But you're right. This day touches my family. Nikki was actually born on June 10th of 1983 while I was in Beirut.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a wonderful story. And but today is it is a sad day, but it's also a day of remembrance. Some people call it the anniversary, but Marines call it a day of remembrance because it is a day that we like to remember Joe Botchin, Gunnery Sergeant Hernandez, and Captain Winter and First Sergeant Wells and Lieutenant Schnorf and Captain Schlaba and Gunnery Sergeant Balmer, and the list goes on and on and on. And it wasn't that long ago that I didn't want to talk about what happened over there, but I was reminded by one of my best friends, Chuck Dallahy, who was at your wedding, Nikki, who told me it was my duty to remember. So that's the reason I grant these interviews now.
Dad, tell the story about Terry Velour real quick before we run out of time.
Terry Velour is the lowest, third lowest rank in the Marine Corps, Lance Corporal, and I'm supposed to be leading him, but on this particular day, he led me. Lance Corporal Velour was he was sent to us because there was not enough room on the ships, and when I walked in to check on Lance Corporal Velour in a hospital, which was behind the embassy where I was stationed at that particular time, and a doctor had me put on some gloves and a robe to avoid the risk of infection. And Lance Corporal Velour, who was a Caucasian, but his skin was completely black because his skin had been burnt by the explosion. And the doctor asked me a question. Lance Corporal Velour realized there was a Marine in the room when I answered, and he asked me what happened, reached up to grab the flag on my uniform to verify I was a Marine, and then touched my rank to realize I was a lieutenant. And he said, "Sir, what happened?" And I tried to describe to him while I was holding his hand, and he eventually, as I was asking him, did he want something for his pain, he said no. When he was asking about specific Marines, which I couldn't answer, he took my hand and shoved it away. He said, "Go find out, sir. Go find out about these Marines." And I'm not used to taking orders from Lance Corporals, but I did on this particular day. And went over to pull up in the door. He said, "Semper Fidelis, sir." I responded best I could, "Semper Fidelis, Lance Corporal Velour." When I returned, I assumed the worst had happened. When I got back to America, I called his family to tell him how proud I was. Lance Corporal Velour had survived. So today, you and I will talk sometime, and we'll remember.
Thank you, Dad.
Colonel.
Thank you so much, Dad. I know it's hard to tell those stories, but I'm really blessed my dad came home, and I'm really blessed to be able to remember this and be reminded of this, but so many people forget about it. And so, as my dad said, it's our duty to remember and to continue to tell those stories.
And understand this is real. And
I hope America never forgets.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Colonel,
Dad. Love you.
Thank you.